Okay, let's look at B. Mary, Carlos, and Amanda collect stamps. Carlos has 5 more stamps than Mary, and Amanda has 3 times as many stamps as Carlos. And altogether, they have 100 stamps. Find the number of stamps each person has. Well, first, I'm going to write a verbal description of the basic situation. Okay, and the first temptation is probably frankly for me and maybe for you to be like, okay, I'm going to use M. Mary, the number of stamps she has, plus the number of stamps plus that Carlos has, plus the number of stamps that Amanda has, that all equals 100. And it does all equal 100, but I've got 3 variables. So what I need to do is I need to really kind of look and do a little bit more, figure out how I can write this all with only 1 variable. Okay? Okay. So choose a variable for the unknown quantity and write an equation to model the detailed situation. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the bottom of page 60, and I'm going to look. And Carlos has 5 more stamps than Mary. So if I can figure out how many stamps Mary has, all I have to do is add 5 to it, and I have the number that Carlos has. Then it says Amanda has 3 times as many stamps as Carlos. So if I can figure out what Carlos has, I can figure out what Amanda has. And if I can figure out all 3 of them, I can do the equation. So I'm going to start, because Mary isn't like, you go from Mary to figure out what Carlos has. And once you figure out Carlos, you can figure out what Amanda has. So let's start with Mary, and let's let S represent the number of stamps that Mary has. Okay? So if Mary is S, then it says Carlos has 5 more stamps than Mary. Then Carlos is going to be the number of stamps that Mary has plus 5. And Amanda has 3 times as many stamps as Carlos. So Carlos is this S plus 5. So Carlos, 3 times what Carlos has is what Amanda has. And that way I can use 1 variable to get the whole thing written. So this is Mary. This is Carlos. And 3 times what Carlos has is what Amanda has, and the grand total is 100. Okay? 90% of the battle is just figuring out how to write the equation. Solving is actually easy. It's the figuring out how to write the equation that's sometimes an issue. Okay? So you're going to solve it for S. Okay. So this is your equation. So let's take that equation. We're going to do the distributive property, which means we're going to take that 3 and we're going to multiply it by the S. Take that 3 and multiply it by the 5. When I do that, I get the S plus 5, and then we have 3S plus 15 after I do the distributive property equals 100. And then I'm going to combine all my S's. I've got 1S here, 1S here, 3S here. That's a total of 5S. And then I have a 5 and a 15 here for a total of 20 equal to 100. And then if I will mentally just kind of say minus 20 on both sides, that's going to be 80 equals 5S. Divide both sides by 5, and S is equal to, I think that's 16. There you go. So S, remember, go back up here. S is the number of stamps that Mary has. So Mary has 16 stamps. Yay for me. Carlos has 16 plus 5, which is 21. And Amanda has the most. So we're going to take that 16. 16 plus 5 is 21. 21 times 3 is 63 stamps. Make sure that everything makes sense. So we want to know, does 16 for Mary, 21 for Carlos, and 63 for Amanda, does that add up to 100? 16 plus 21 is 37 plus 63. Yep, 100 equals 100. Okay, so the answer makes sense. Smiley face. Okay? Okay, and I just want to say a word about these types of problems before we go on. Guys, these types of problems take practice. The more you do them, the better you'll get at breaking them down, figuring out what you know, and how you can find the things that you don't know. It does take practice, so be patient with yourself. Okay? Okay, so is a fractional answer going to make sense in this particular situation? No, we really don't have fractions of stamps, so it's going to be a whole number. Okay? That's like if you go and order pizzas. Are you going to order 3.33 pizzas? No. Okay? Are you going to go buy 2 7/8 stamps? No. A whole number makes sense here, but not a fraction. Okay. What might it mean if a check, like if you went over here and you did your check your work and you didn't get 100 on both sides? What would that mean? Well, it probably means that you've done something incorrect. Either you set the problem up incorrectly, or you did your math incorrectly. And really you do have to go back and kind of check and sort of ask yourself, does that answer make sense in this situation? Okay? Okay, now we're going to go attack this one. It says your turn, but we'll do this together because we're still practicing. It says a rectangular garden, over here, is fenced on all sides with 256 feet of fencing. The garden is 8 feet longer than it is wide. I actually did that for you. See, here's the one. The garden is 8 feet longer than it is wide. So the length is W plus 8. The width is just W. Find the length and the width of the garden. Well, first of all, the 256, because it's a fence that goes around the garden, 256 is going to be perimeter. Okay, so that's just you kind of knowing from previous years that you're going to need to use perimeter. And remember that perimeter is just this length plus this length plus this length plus this length. Okay, I've got 2 of these here and here, and I've got 2 of these here and here. Okay, the garden is 8 feet longer than it is wide. All right, find the length and the width. So I'm just going to say my lengths, W plus W, plus my widths, W plus 8 plus W plus 8. And I know that that all together equals 256. Now, you could have decided, well, that's kind of stupid, Miss Goff. Why don't we just do 2W, 2 of your lengths, plus 2 of your, plus 8, sorry. I'm trying to write the word width. Okay, same situation, 256. This and this is equivalent, okay? All right, and then all you have to do is do the distributive property, 2 times W and 2 times 8. So, writing it again, I have 2W plus 2 times W, another 2W, plus 2 times 8, which is 16. And that all equals 256. And then I'm going to combine things. This is going to be 4W altogether plus 16, and that is going to equal 256. And then I'm going to subtract 16. Over here I now have 4W. Over here I now have, what, 240? That sounds right. Divide both sides by 4. Divide both sides by 4. And W equals 60. Now, I'm not completely finished. I just know that W is 60. So W is 60. 60 here. 60 here. Which means that here it's 60 plus 8, and that's 68. So 68 there. 68 there. Now we go back and just make sure. 60 plus 60 plus 68 plus 68 should equal our perimeter, which is 256.